Cam Robinson, franchise tag for the second straight year as well. Major shift in a NFL draft gambling market as a result of that. We'll talk about that in a second. Orlando Brown, franchise tagged by the Chiefs. Jesse Bates, franchise tagged by Super Bowl loser Denver, the Cincinnati Bengals. The David Njoku, Dalton Schultz, and Mike Gesicki of the Browns, Cowboys, and Dolphins, respectively, all tight ends, tagged as well. I don't think any of these, I would say that the biggest surprise was Cam Robinson with the Jaguars, probably, right?
Yep, absolutely. So
all these we thought were guys that would end up getting tagged, not tagged. Mike Williams, we'll talk about him in a second. He got a contract. And Harold Landry of the Titans was not tagged. That maybe is the most surprising thing, that the Titans didn't tag Harold Landry. That kind of shocked me.
I was actually shocked that the Bills cut AJ Klein, but that's a conversation for another time.
Why would you bring that up, Ryan?
That's your guy, Breech.
It is my guy.
But yeah, the Cam Robinson thing's interesting because they have the first overall pick for the second straight year. The Jaguars do. Franchise tagged him last year, I think, right? Yeah, they franchise tagged him last year. And
they did. So his number will be slightly higher than that because he gets a 20% bump. Then that's
right.
16.7.
That's what made me hesitate. But the other thing is, so let's say they keep Cam Robinson. They have Jawan Taylor, who they drafted in the second round a few years ago. They need offensive line help. You're not taking – I don't think you still take Ike Ekwonu or Evan Neal at number one if you're bringing Cam Robinson back, because where do you play him? So then are you going to take an edge rusher for the third time in 4 years with the first overall pick? That seems dumb, even though I love Aiden Hutchinson.
Does it feel like Urban Meyer's still coaching this team, Ryan?
I don't understand the thinking. Breech, you're used to being a fan of a perennial loser. What would be the thinking here?
Well, I think the thinking is that you look at the tackle market and you say, what kind of chance do we have at getting one of these guys that might be available? And you think, well, we're probably not going to get Armstead, and Orlando Brown just got franchise tag. So instead of dealing with all that, we'll just keep the guy we have. So we're going to keep Cam Robinson. But that does throw a wrench into what they should do with the first overall pick. So maybe they're going to try and trade it. But I mean, you've mentioned
no one's trading for that pick,
how difficult it is going to be trade that. So what do? You know, you can't draft. You either have to draft an offensive lineman or a pass rusher to feel like you're getting the best value out of that top pick.
One of three guys is going to go number one overall. It's going to be Aiden Hutchinson, Ike Ekwonu, or Evan Neal. Like that, I mean, don't we agree on that, Wilson? There's nobody else in the conversation unless a trade happens, and I don't think a trade is happening.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't think Thibodeau's in the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So here's sort of the thinking on the tag for Cam Robinson. You're the Jaguars, and look, they can still draft Evan Neal or Ike. Like they can still do that. It doesn't mean that Aiden Hutchinson is a total stone cold lock. But if I were making the case for the Jaguars and how this plays out, you tag Cam Robinson because you just spent a week at the combine and you have talked to agents and you have determined that you are the Jaguars and Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson are not going to be able to make a splash signing in free agency. That means that you would be putting Ike or Neal on an island as your left tackle with Trevor Lawrence back there. And maybe that's just not something they feel comfortable doing right now. Now, again, and I'm not saying that I agree with this. I'm just making the case for it. The market moved because, big time Twitter celebs like me and Daniel Jeremiah tweeted that you should go bet on Aiden Hutchinson. He was 4-1 to be the first overall pick before Cam Robinson was franchise tagged.
Do you have any Hutchinson money?
I have a lot of Hutchinson money.
Oh, good.
At 4-1 too. Woohoo!
I was gonna say you got it before it was minus.
Yeah, I got it. Well, I was like running around doing my hair and putting on a shirt for the Russell Wilson podcast.
You didn't start doing it until
he couldn't show up for the Aaron Rodgers podcast, but he had plenty of time to bet Aiden Hutchinson.
That's right.
The hair plugs aren't going to plug themselves, Breech.
I have Neal, Ike, and Hutchinson all at plus money. So, like,
but the Hutchinson money, you didn't start betting that until today.
I had a little at 2-1 before because I was like, it's just because it was like, look, I know that I had Neal and Ike, and there's a chance I go Hutchinson. And here's the other reason why is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but looking at if you're picking first and you want to come out of the first two rounds with a pass rusher and an offensive lineman, isn't the offensive line class deeper when we get down where the Jaguars will be picking again? Do they have a second first round pick? Am I wrong?
I think they do. It's pretty close. Both these classes are pretty deep.
I forget.
I'll double check, but I think they have at the top of the first, top of the second. As
Oh, is it a Jalen Ramsey pick? No.
Jalen Ramsey. They have the 33rd and the 65th. So 33rd at the top of the
Oh,
second.
so they have the top of the second.
Yeah.
Right. So like, all right, if you take your best prospects, and what would all right? You've done 2-round mock drafts.
Not yet, but one's coming next week, a 3-rounder. But I can go ahead and ask your question.
Ooh,
I'm saying, like, give me the combination of top offensive linemen and pass rushers you'd get around 33.
Okay. All right. So let's
Hutchinson plus offensive lineman you'd get around 33.
So Icky, Evan Neal, you can get at the top of the first round. And then the edge rushers you're going to get are going to be at the pick 33. You can get someone like George Karlaftis may be there. Boye Mafe may be there. Myjai Sanders will be there. So those are good guys in different ways that can certainly help your team right away. Now, the edge rusher at the top is going to be Aiden Hutchinson. And then after that, after number one, there's some drop-off. Kayvon Thibodeau, if that's your thing. But the next top guys probably won't be until 5, 6, or 7. David Ojabo, Trevon Walker, Jermaine Johnson. And then the offensive lineman you can get at the top of the second round. Bernard Raymond, the kid out of Central Michigan, Daniel Faalele out of Minnesota, Darian Kennard, who probably have to kick inside the guard, but played outside for Kentucky, Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. Those are guys that will be there at the top of the second round. And I think to your original point, offensive line at the top of the first round is deeper than once you get to offensive line at the top of the second round. So I would go offensive line edge as opposed to edge offensive line. I think. Yeah, I would go offensive line edge and then as opposed to edge offensive line.
Okay, so you like the depth of the defensive line better than the depth of the offensive line?
So let me see how I can put this.
I guess it just depends on what players you like in those two positions.
Right. Aiden Hutchinson is the only guy at the top that I would take. You can get 2 or 3 guys at the top of offensive linemen.
I think that's probably what their thinking is. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or whatever. I'm just saying that has to be sort of their approach here, right? Is like, we think Aiden Hutchinson is the best. Like we think he is the singular defensive prospect in this draft. We don't think we can get another good edge rusher at the top of 2. We do think we can get some more offensive line help. And we also have Cam Robinson in place. That has to factor into the calculus.
Right. No, I think that's right.
Again, I'm not saying it's right. Like, I think I would take Icky first overall and build around Trevor Lawrence. But I do think it's possible that they look at it and say, okay, the way we can sort of finagle this is this works out best for us. That's all I can guess, right? With the Cam Robinson thing.
Yeah, but that means you're taking the third defensive end edge rusher in the first round in 4 years. That just seems wasteful.
Yeah. Doug Peterson's Eagles team won with a stout defensive line. Like, if they didn't have, who did they have, Devo? They had Brandon Graham and Chris Long starting, and then Derek Barnett coming off the bench as a rotational guy that year.
Yeah. Fletcher Cox, Timmy Jernigan on the inside.
Had a
lot of depth.
Loaded at defensive line. Like, that's, and
also had Michael Bennett. Chris Long was coming off the bench for some of the season, a large portion of the season.
There you go. So that, I think that factors into it. And we also saw with 49ers built around the defensive line. Also, Trip Baalke, I believe when he was GM of the 49ers, only drafted an offensive prospect once.
Well, the other thing that tagging Cam Robinson does is you're not limited to taking a tackle. Because if you don't tag Cam Robinson, it feels like you have to take a tackle. Now at least you feel like you have the option to do whatever's best if you like someone more than an offensive lineman and take any of the defensive players you guys just talked about. And you know what? Maybe you take a tackle and you play that guy at right tackle or play Cam Robinson at right tackle and put the other guy at left tackle.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't tag Cam Robinson and you draft Ike Ekwonu, and I think he'll be ready, but like if you get to training camp and you're like, this guy isn't prepared to be a starting left tackle in the NFL right now, and look, that's fine. Like, that happens with lots of positions. Certainly happens with offensive linemen. You could get in a position where it's a really dangerous spot for Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, it was pretty dangerous last year. And our Brian McFadden said to me before the combine, he said, Ike Kwanu is the best player on the offensive line right now. So I think that's right.
I don't disagree. I'm just making the devil's advocate.
But I don't know why the backup plan would be to draft another edge rusher. That's the only thing I can't figure out.
I think
because it's Jacksonville.
Yes, that's the answer.
Well,
Right.
the theory is like we're going to have Josh Allen and Aiden Hutchinson and just be unleash them. I mean, that's,
But you had Caleb on Chase on. You drafted him 2 years ago. I mean, how far down this road are we going to go?
yeah, it's a different regime. Just pointing it out. Anywho,